Art is everywhere we look. We have access to countless masterpieces just waiting for us to visit them for free in DC. Looking at art without a background understanding is nice. You can appreciate the work that went into it and the feelings you felt. I have found, through my studies of art at VCU, a university in Germany, and NOVA, that knowing the history of art adds depth, understanding, and context to what you are looking at. The history of art is long, complicated, and follows people from all walks of life, and would take more than 6 minutes to explain, which is why this speech will be concentrating on Western art, moving quickly, focusing on the different art movements from the Renaissance to Surrealism, instead of the people in each movement. The Renaissance art was a new era in art that looked more realistic, experimented with linear perspective, and light and dark shadows. Linear perspective makes 2D images look 3D, which at the time would have been like us looking at 3D movies. Next came Baroque art in 16 to 1750. Baroque art Baroque art took the realistic painting style and depth and added emotional intensity and movement. Baroque pieces will often display a moment in time as opposed to someone standing. These two Davids beautifully represent the differences between Renaissance and Baroque art. Can you guess which is which? This one is Baroque art. Baroque art was dark and intense, where Rococo art is playful and light-hearted. The aristocracy led the demand for this type of art, primarily because they wanted pleasant artwork for decoration. In general, Rococo art uses pastel colors and shadows, showing pleasing sights with love and joy. Neoclassic art came next. Neoclassic art broke away from the emotionally charged Baroque and shunned Rococo for being too sensual and shallow. Neoclassic art, as the name suggests, moves back to the classics. This art style saw a renewed interest in classical ideas of harmony, symmetry, and proportion. Romantic art is all about passion and evoking it in the audience. Order and harmony have been pushed aside, and the individual person and your imagination are now seen as the most important. You can identify romantic art by the intense facial expressions and the romantic spin on subject matter. Realism represented real things and, more importantly, real people. Realism shifted from religion and mythology to what we could see. The art in this movement did not idealize everyday scenes, but instead depicted the middle and poor classes for what they were. Impressionism. Monet's painting Impressionist Sunrise gave the name to this movement. A critic called it an impression of a painting. You can recognize Impressionist art by the short brushstrokes. Things are not finely finished, and the piece may look like you're seeing it from a glance. They often use vivid colors. Expressionism puts a high value on feelings over everything else. They often use strong colors that could symbolize anxiety and raw feelings. Cubism rejects the idea that art should reflect nature and moves past the traditional techniques and preferences and instead fragments the object, creating something completely new and revolutionary. So when you think surrealism, you should think dream on a canvas. Surrealist art wants to disconnect from the rational minds and focus on the unconscious. Freud and Karl Marx were also inspirations for the Surrealist movement. And today, there are tons of different art movements, like postmodernist, feminist art, street art, digital art, as just to name a few. Technology like computers and editing softwares and 3D printers have changed the art world along with social media like Instagram. Imagine a time when people didn't see art and compare it to now. Knowing its history is relevant because art is everywhere. Art is constantly evolving, a dance of acting and reacting, taking impressions from other art movements or actively directing others. Importance of religion, the individual, nature, love, the common man, and so much more has gone in and out of style. What was originally hated is now loved, and what was loved is now looked back. Now what was loved now looks outdated. Understanding art history helps you understand the piece in front of you and helps form your opinion of art.